So let's talk about Fuji's latest X Summit launch in 2024. It was on May 16th. I didn't make this video earlier because I wanted to get my hands on just to try out and feel how the new product is, and I was lucky enough to do it a few days ago at Vistech in Toronto. Fujifilm was there showing off their products, the new ones. Let's go over them. The first one being the X-T50. So the X-T50, I gotta first off say I love this XT lineup, the XT double digit lineup. My very first camera was an X-T10. Really regret selling it, but it was really nice that they came out with the X-T50. I haven't held that size camera in a long time, so holding it again felt really nice, but it was really small. So this is the X106 and it's even smaller than this. If you're just getting into photography, this is Fujifilm's, I think, bread and butter to come into the system, as well as beginner photography. This is really nice. They introduced the new dial, which is for the film simulations. I know that a lot of people who shoot RAW, they won't really use it, like myself. I was talking to the guy that was head of the Fujifilm department, and we were talking about it. I was telling him, oh, I shoot RAW, I don't really use this. He was telling me that he does this himself. He would always switch up the film simulations depending on what he's shooting. I've actually found that pretty interesting. I never looked at it that way. For me, honestly, I never really liked the film simulation. It never really pushed me to become a Fuji fanboy because of film simulations. Because I don't have a certain style, because every single photo I find that, oh, I might want to edit it differently or something like that. I love editing my photos. So if somebody really wanted to just come into a Fuji system because of film simulations, this would be great. I think this is a perfect beginner's camera just for that, to play around with it. And you can just, after taking a photo, put it on the X app, and then you're good to post already, so you don't have to do a lot of work. Other things this camera introduced is the 40 megapixel camera. This is really great. Like I said, my first camera was the X-T10. I believe that's a 60 megapixel camera. That was really good to me, because it was just like an introductory camera, where now this introductory camera is still 40 megapixels. And there's also IBIS now, so I'm guessing your hand would shake quite a bit. This IBIS would help so much. So this camera is really nice for beginners, but for me, I think I won't be getting it. I also don't really like how it's become more rounded. I know a lot of people actually do like it. I personally like still the old style of how the Fuji XT double digit lineup was like. I thought that felt more retro. So with the new X-T50, Fujifilm also announced a new kit lens, which is 16 to 50 millimeters, f2.8 to f4, OIS, LM, WR, and all that stuff. The best thing about this lens is it's very lightweight. It's only 240 grams, whereas this old kit lens is around 330 grams or something. So the new kit lens is pretty much to replace this. This is the 18 to 55 f2.8 to f4. With the new lens, it's a bit darker once it becomes telephoto, but the cool thing is it doesn't extend out anymore. So when you're maybe on a gimbal with this camera and this lens, using this lens, you don't have to readjust or restabilize the gimbal as well. The lens is also compatible with their new 40 megapixel sensors, so I could even use it on my X-H2, which is really amazing. Other things includes the minimum focusing distance of 24 centimeters, so you can get really close to the subject before it becomes out of focus, and it's been really sharp throughout. The thing is, it does have one less stop of light, so things are a bit darker once it's in the telephoto area compared to this older one. Something I really wanted to try was a focus breathing, and the focus breathing on the new kit lens was actually pretty good. But for me, I think this is still good enough. I'm not planning on upgrading it, but I do think that the new kit lens seems to be pretty photo heavy. I do think that if you're a beginner, this is a great lens to get into because it is very sharp. Something I noticed that was really unique is that when you zoom into the camera, you can see the lens moving inside. It got me thinking, because of this camera, the X106, when you zoom in or when it focuses, it moves, the lens moves. So same as this, and this new lens is like, it makes you think how weather resistant it is, because with that you have to get new filter to make it weather resistant. They say it's weather resistant, but you can still see it moving. So it made me think, oh, how weather resistant really is this lens? So it was just my thought, but I'm sure Fujifilm is correct. It's weather resistant. It's just my own worry. And it seems like every time it zooms in and stuff, there's like a hole in the middle. It seems really weird. But you only notice it when you have it like hands-on and just try it out yourself. So let's talk about the other big news. Fujifilm also announced the GFX 100S Mark II. So originally I was really excited for this camera because all the specs in this camera I thought I'd really want if I was to jump into a 100 megapixel sensor camera, and this camera is probably the cheapest 100 megapixel camera you can find in the market right now. They introduced their newer 102 megapixel CMOS 2 sensor with the new X processor 5, so you get a lot faster autofocus. The standard sensitivity now, it's only at 80 ISO, which is, you can get your photos really sharp now when you zoom in even more. With the new processor, the autofocus has like airplane and birds, cars, trains, and all that, animals and all that stuff. So it has the new updated sensor, which all the newer cameras have right now. And with this newer sensor, it's not as fast as the GFX 100 Mark II, but it's still pretty fast. You can take frames up to 7 frames per second. So it's still pretty fast. And for me, I don't really go past 7 or 8 frames per second, so it's actually fast enough. It also has 8 stop of IBIS, so you'll be very steady when you take your photos. This camera also weighs only 883 grams. So it's really light. It's still relatively light compared to the GFX 100 Mark II. And you can actually take it out and you'd be comfortable with this camera because it weighs pretty much as certain full frame cameras. So on the GFX 100S Mark II, on the leather part, like here, it now uses the Bishmon text, which was first introduced in the GFX 100 Mark II. It feels really nice and very high quality. But the thing is, the metal part on the GFX 100S Mark II, it still uses the old body. So what I think Fujifilm actually did was just took the old body of the GFX 100S and just rewrapped the leather part, and that's it for the exterior design. And I personally don't really like the top part of the GFX 100S Mark II. I'm a bit confused with all of this, sorry. The reason why I don't like it is like, you can see it being a bit older and a bit wear and tear. Whereas the newer body on the GFX 100 Mark II, it feels really nice and higher quality. Whereas this older one feels like, I don't know, to me it just looks like doesn't look like a newer camera. It feels like my Fuji X-H2 and X-H2S is even newer or higher quality. So for me, that didn't make a lot of sense. I don't know why Fujifilm didn't just redesign it. I know this camera is cheaper, but yeah. So this camera also uses a dual SD card. I find that pretty interesting. So it just shows that the main focus of this camera is mainly photography, not really for video work. Whereas the GFX 100 Mark II is more for video because that can shoot at 8K and whatever and all that stuff. So the specs wise on this GFX 100S Mark II seems really good. If I was just to upgrade to a GFX 100 now, I might consider this. But to me, like, I don't know, I just want it, if I have to face the camera every single day, I want it to look professional and look nice. Whereas this one, just the appearance to me isn't there. But I know all the specs is there. I know all the specs that I need will be there because I'm going to mainly be using it for photography. I won't use it for video. But just that look at the top of it, the top and bottom of the camera is just, I don't know, just something missing. If you don't care at all about the looks, this is the camera for you. If you want to hop into the 100 megapixel medium format standard, this camera is it. It's very, very nice, very sharp. As usual, for medium format Fujifilm stuff is really good. So the last thing Fujifilm also announced was the new GF 500mm f5.6 telephoto lens. This lens is 400 meters equivalent around there to full frame camera. It's a super telephoto lens and it's great for wildlife photography and sports photography. So Fujifilm is trying to introduce medium format cameras into wildlife and sports photographers. And best thing about this telephoto lens is that it only weighs like 1300 grams. It's even lighter than the XF100 to 600mm lens that Fuji has, the really big one. Obviously I never really took it around, but it was just holding it in my hand is really light. I never really used it a lot in the store, but it's just amazing that how Fujifilm is advancing so much and they're in a niche where no other camera companies are in right now. Fujifilm is killing it, and I'm also so looking forward to what Fujifilm has to offer in the future because of how much money and how much revenue they're making. Now that they have so many updated cameras introduced in each category, it's really amazing because if your introduction to photography, you're now in the X-T50. If your introduction to more video work, XS20. If you want to advance, X-T5 or XH2. And now there's XH2S. And now if you want a GFX system, they have that. I think the next upgrade they're gonna do is more the GFX 50 lineup for people that want to just jump into medium format cameras. I think that's probably going to be their next X Summit launch, or maybe next year. I'm just so looking forward to what Fujifilm is going to be doing, and they're just killing it right now. And yeah, anyway, just wanted to update you guys about what cameras and products Fujifilm just came out recently. I know you guys have already probably heard about it, but I just want to give you guys like a first-hand experience of me actually holding it from a person, a Fujifilm fanboy kind of thing, as well as but I'd still pick on what I think could be improved. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thanks, and I'll see you guys next time.